You know, when a warning light comes on in your car, it's it's pretty straightforward.
Right, you just plug in a little diagnostic tool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It spits out an error code, and the mechanic just points at the screen and says, aha, it's the oxygen sensor.
Yeah, it's completely binary, broken or functional.
Yeah, and there is a lot of comfort in that clarity. But then, you look at the creature sleeping at the foot of your dog, and suddenly that clear diagnostic dashboard just doesn't exist.
Not at all.
They can't tell you where it hurts. They just give you these incredibly complex, deeply expressive looks that somehow convey everything and nothing at the same time.
You're dealing with the ultimate definition of diagnostic muddy waters.
Yeah.
I mean, reading subtle behavioral tea leaves basically replaces checking a digital error code.
Right.
A slight hesitation before jumping on the couch, or a subtle shift in how they chew their food, or even sleeping in a slightly different corner of the room. Those might be the only clues you get that a major physiological change is happening.
Which is exactly why we are plunging into the source material we have on the desk today. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone.
Glad to be here.
So today we are analyzing a massive collection of veterinary insights, specifically focusing on the comprehensive care of Cocker Spaniels.
And it is a lot of material.
Oh, it's huge. We have everything from breed-specific medical journals to expert interviews, but our mission today is very specific.
We have to narrow it down.
Right. We are not going to drown you in endless, granular veterinary textbook details. Instead, we are extracting the ultimate lifetime health checklist.
The absolute essentials.
Exactly. We are talking about the core principles you actually need to carry with you, from the chaotic puppy phase all the way to those quiet senior years. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, in a world of absolute information overload, where you can, easily go down a late-night internet rabbit hole.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right, and you convince yourself your dog has some rare tropical disease.
At 2 in the morning.
Exactly. So stripping away the noise to find the fundamental daily habits is arguably the most valuable thing you can do for your pet.
For sure.
It requires taking an overwhelming volume of complex veterinary data and really just distilling it into daily, actionable routines that actually move the needle on their longevity.
So before we get to the daily stuff, the research establishes where this health journey actually begins. And technically, it starts before the dog even sets foot in your house.
Yes, the genetics.
Right. The genetic foundation of a Cocker Spaniel is largely determined by responsible breeding, specifically regarding eye conditions.
Yeah, the Cocker Spaniel anatomy and genetic history make them particularly vulnerable to issues like progressive retinal atrophy and early onset cataracts.
Which sounds terrifying.
It is, and the biological mechanism here is really insidious because dogs are incredibly adept at compensating with their other senses.
So they just hide it.
Pretty much. A dog's hearing and olfactory mapping are so acute that they can navigate a familiar living room perfectly, even if their vision is deteriorating rapidly. Yeah. By the time an owner notices the dog bumping into, a newly placed coffee table, the degradation of the retina or the clouding of the lens is often highly advanced.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. That genetic background dictates the baseline health the dog will experience, which is why screening the parents is a non-negotiable first step.
Hold on, I have to push back a little here.
Okay, go for it.
Because a lot of people listening might be looking at their 5-year-old rescue Cocker Spaniel right now.
Right.
They can't build a time machine, go back 5 years, and interrogate some unknown breeder about ophthalmic screenings. I mean, how does knowing this genetic vulnerability practically help an owner who is already halfway through the dog's life?
Well, that is the reality for millions of dog owners. The genetic history is unchangeable history. You can't fix it.
So what do they do?
The actionable takeaway for the rescue owner isn't about changing the past. It's a fundamental shift in philosophy. It means adopting preventive care as an ongoing mindset rather than a reactive strategy. Knowing the breed is predisposed to these invisible ocular issues means you don't wait for the dog to start bumping into walls.
Right, you get ahead of it.
Exactly. You proactively schedule thorough, specialized eye exams as part of their annual routine, knowing exactly what you're hunting for.
So you are actively looking for the check engine light before it even flickers.
Precisely.
Establishing that baseline, knowing their exact baseline appetite, their normal gait, their resting heart rate, is what prevents you from having to rush to the emergency vet a year too late.
You really have to know their personal baseline so you can spot the deviation. Like a Cocker Spaniel might naturally have a slightly slower, more methodical way of walking than, say, a hyperactive terrier.
Sure, they kind of plod along.
Right. So if you don't know their normal rhythm, you just won't notice when arthritis starts causing a microscopic hesitation in their back left leg.
But how do you do that without becoming entirely paranoid?
It's a balance.
Because if I'm constantly analyzing my dog's gait, or calculating their exact breathing rate while they sleep, or staring at their food bowl with a magnifying glass, I'm going to drive myself crazy.
Oh, definitely. But the goal is not obsessive clinical monitoring.
Yep.
The human brain is actually incredibly good at pattern recognition when we just pay passive, consistent attention.
So just being observant.
Exactly. It's about being familiar enough with your specific dog's everyday state that a genuine, meaningful shift creates a natural cognitive dissonance in your brain. You weren't looking for textbook perfection.
You're just looking for a change.
Right, a deviation from their own personal norm.
So once we have that baseline locked in, we move to the things we actually have total control over every single day. The daily controllables: weight, food, and exercise.
The big three.
Yeah, body condition is a major theme across all these sources, and it's one of the few health factors that is almost entirely in an owner's daily control.
And it's so important because the mechanics of weight gain in dogs are fascinating and honestly pretty frustrating. Weight drift is incredibly gradual.
Just sneaks up on them.
It really does. It happens an ounce at a time.
Yeah.
And because you look at your dog every single day, because they are covered in fur.
Yeah, that thick cocker coat.
Exactly. Your eyes simply will not register a gradual 10% increase in body mass.
Right, so the research outlines a very specific physical check you should be doing. Instead of relying on your eyes or the scale at the annual vet visit, you need to actively feel the dog's ribs.
Yes. You are doing a tactile body condition score.
How does that work?
So, if you run your hands along their side, you should be able to feel the ribs without pressing hard. It should feel similar to feeling the bones on the back of your hand.
Okay, let me feel my hand.
Right. Now, if it feels like feeling your knuckles, they're way too thin.
Oh, got it.
But if it feels like the palm of your hand where you have to press through a layer of padding to find the bone, then they are carrying excess weight.
That makes so much sense.
And catching that biological drift early, just by feeling a slight change in the rib coverage, is infinitely easier than trying to reverse a significant metabolic shift a whole year down the line.
And that ties directly into how we manage their intake. The recommendation is to portion food based on the dog's actual metabolic needs, not their, quote, apparent enthusiasm for food.
What's fascinating here is how these seemingly basic daily choices, measuring the food, precisely taking the daily walk, are actually the most powerful medical interventions you have.
More than medicine.
Absolutely. We often think of medicine as pills or surgeries, but portion control is preventive joint medicine.
Right.
Daily cardiovascular exercise is preventive heart medicine.
But let's be real about calculating those actual needs. I mean, I'm looking at the back of a standard kibble bag, and the suggested feeding ranges are massive.
They really are.
It'll say something like, feed 1 to 2.5 cups a day. That's a huge gap. If I feed the higher end because my dog is acting like they're starving to death, am I overfeeding?
Probably, yes.
Because honestly, a dog's enthusiasm for dinner is basically bottomless. It's like letting a toddler loose in a candy store and saying, well, they seem really enthusiastic about the gummy worms, so they must need the calories.
That is a perfect analogy. The ranges on dog food bags are intentionally broad because they have to cover everything from a highly active working farm dog to a totally sedentary apartment dog.
Oh, right.
And the average companion, Cocker Spaniel, is almost always on the lower end of that caloric requirement. An owner has to act as the boundary setter.
Because the dog won't do it themselves.
Exactly. A dog's evolutionary wiring tells them to consume calories whenever they are available because their ancestors didn't know when the next hunt would be successful.
They're just hoarders.
Right, they're biologically programmed scavengers. So relying on their appetite as a metric for their nutritional needs is a fundamental error.
Wow.
You have to calculate based on their ideal body weight and just strictly based on that tactile rib check we just discussed.
So keeping them lean protects the joints, and keeping them moving protects the heart. But, with a Cocker Spaniel, even a perfectly lean, athletic dog can end up miserable if you ignore the anatomy sitting right on the side of their head. We have to talk about the ears?
We do. Ear checks are arguably the single most important breed-specific habit.
Because of those big floppy ears?
Yes. The Cocker Spaniel's unique ear structure is practically designed to create medical issues. Those long, heavy, pendulous ears, which are clinically known as pinna, they completely cover the L-shaped ear canal.
It's basically a heavy blanket trapping everything inside.
That's exactly what it is. It restricts all airflow, and that creates a microclimate in there that is warm, dark, and constantly moist.
Yuck.
Right. Biologically, that is the perfect incubation chamber for yeast and bacteria. Normal wax production combined with trapped moisture quickly snowballs into a severe infection.
And that can get really bad, right?
Oh, it could eventually rupture the eardrum if left unchecked.
Wow. So the suggested routine here is just a quick, calm check for any odor, redness, or discharge. And you just integrate it directly into cuddle time or grooming time.
Keep it casual.
Right. You are lifting the ear flap, taking a quick smell because a yeast infection has a very distinct, almost sweet, funky odor, and looking for any aggressive redness. It shouldn't be a scary medical procedure.
And integrating it into grooming time brings up a massive perspective shift that owners need to make. Grooming must be viewed as ongoing health care, not merely a cosmetic chore to keep them looking pretty.
I love that. When you are brushing your dog, you aren't just styling their hair. You are conducting a daily microphysical. You're like the frontline scout.
Exactly. Regular brushing prevents painful matting, which can actually bruise the skin underneath as it pulls.
Oh.
Yeah, it's painful. But more importantly, your hands are acting as an early warning radar system. You are feeling for subcutaneous lumps, ticks, or early skin lesions that are completely invisible under a thick double coat.
You'd never see them otherwise.
Right. Finding a mast cell tumor when it's the size of a pea because you are brushing them thoroughly, rather than finding it when it's the size of a golf ball. That drastically changes the surgical outcome.
And while we're talking about these easily deprioritized hygiene tasks, dental care is another huge blind spot.
Oh, absolutely.
It is incredibly easy to let brushing a dog's teeth slip when you have a busy life. I mean, it's usually the first thing to drop off the routine.
But the biological cascade of dental disease is alarming. Plaque mineralizes into tartar, which pushes under the gum line, and that creates deep pockets of chronic inflammation.
It's not just about dog breath.
Not at all. This isn't just about bad breath or losing a tooth. That inflamed gum tissue is highly vascular. So every single time the dog chews, they are pushing oral bacteria directly into their bloodstream.
Oh, that's terrible.
It is. Over a lifespan, this constant bacterial shower forces the immune system into overdrive, and it can physically damage the filtration system of the kidneys and the valves of the heart.
So these physical checking the ears for microclimates of yeast, using brushing to scan for tumors, preventing bacterial showers from inflamed gums, they aren't chores.
Not at all.
They are proactive interventions that stop small issues from snowballing into systemic health crises.
Exactly. You are managing the physical machine.
But a perfectly perned physical machine means absolutely nothing if the dog's mind is being completely neglected.
That's a crucial point.
The psychological needs of this breed are intense. Mental stimulation is a lifelong necessity, not just like a distraction technique you use to tire out a chaotic puppy.
We have to look at the genetic history of the breed again here. Cocker Spaniels are sporting dogs.
Right.
They were bred for centuries to work closely in tandem with humans, flushing and retrieving game in dense brush. They have a job that their DNA still remembers on a cellular level.
It doesn't just go away.
No, it doesn't. The genetic wiring, that drive to work and solve problems, doesn't just vanish because they live in a modern high-rise apartment now.
They need an outlet for that intelligence. And the research points heavily toward activities that engage their primary senses. So, scent games, retrieval play, and continuous training refreshers. And this applies well into their senior years.
Scent work is particularly fascinating from a neurological standpoint. A dog's olfactory bulb, which is the part of the brain dedicated to processing smells, is vastly larger and more complex than ours.
Oh, for sure.
So when a Cocker Spaniel uses its nose to track a hidden treat or a specific scent, it's not just casually sniffing around.
They're working.
Right. It's engaging a massive amount of cognitive processing power. Analyzing millions of scent molecules requires intense focus.
So it tires them out.
Oh, yeah. 10 minutes of rigorous scent work tires their brain out more effectively than a 2-mile run tires their legs. It keeps their cognitive function sharp and really staves off behavioral issues born out of sheer boredom.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The sources argue that emotional well-being is a literal, measurable health factor.
Absolutely.
Companionship, inclusion in your daily life, and predictable routines are just as critical as that 2-mile run. A physically fit Cocker Spaniel who is completely isolated from their family in a backyard is not actually thriving.
No, they're suffering.
Emotional isolation can practically negate their physical health.
The physiological response to isolation in highly social breeds is completely measurable. Chronic stress and anxiety trigger the release of cortisol and other stress hormones.
And that builds up over time.
Right. Over time, elevated cortisol levels suppress the immune system, increase inflammation, and exacerbate underlying physical conditions. They are known as a sporty dog with soulful eyes.
Yeah, they really are.
Their high intelligence, combined with their profound attachment to the human family, demands genuine, ongoing engagement. If you provide perfect nutrition but ignore the emotional component, you're only caring for half the organism.
So true. To wrap up this checklist, we really need to look at the long game. How do these daily habits, the tactile rib checks, managing the ear microclimate, the neurological exhaustion of scent games, how do they stretch across a 12 to 15-year lifespan?
It really comes down to understanding how to read the data you are gathering. The golden rule for identifying warning signs is that persistence and pattern matter significantly more than any single isolated moment.
So one off day where they just don't feel like finishing their dinner is fine.
Totally fine.
And a single instance of violently scratching an ear after a walk in the tall grass is fine. But a repeating issue, a noticeable pattern over 3 or 4 days.
That is the baseline shifting. And that requires action.
Got it.
The core habits remain the same over a decade and a half, but the calibration has to change.
What do you mean by calibration?
Well, exercise is a perfect example. A puppy needs controlled, moderate exercise to protect soft, developing growth plates in their joints.
Right, you don't want to push them too hard too young.
Exactly. Then a healthy adult needs rigorous, varied exercise to maintain cardiovascular fitness. But a senior dog needs that exercise recalibrated again. Perhaps shorter, more frequent walks.
To save the joints.
Right, to keep aging, arthritic joints lubricated without causing microtraumas. And the nutritional profile shifts too, from high-calorie growth formulas to joint-supporting senior diets.
Which makes meticulous record-keeping absolutely vital. Over a 15-year lifespan, human memory is fundamentally flawed. You will not remember exactly what month they had that weird ear infection 3 years ago or what they weighed at their peak.
You really won't.
You need a centralized record of vaccinations, grooming anomalies, and weight trends to reveal those invisible long-term patterns. And tools and apps exist now to support this organization so that when you walk into the vet's office, you aren't guessing. You are providing hard data.
And part of that long-term view is simple emergency preparation. Knowing the route to the nearest 24-hour clinic, having those medical records immediately accessible on your phone, and intimately knowing your dog's physiological baseline so you can accurately describe the deviation to a triage nurse.
That's huge in an emergency.
It really is. The biggest mistakes owners make over a dog's life aren't usually massive, dramatic errors. They are slow, cumulative omissions.
Like what?
Like allowing a gradual weight gain to go unchecked for years, or treating recurring ear infections as minor, occasional annoyances rather than a systemic pattern that needs intervention, or skipping annual blood work because the dog seems outwardly energetic.
So what does this all mean? We've covered the genetics of failing retinas, the tactile mechanics of feeling ribs, the L-shaped ear canals, toddler candy analogies, microphysicals, and 15 years of data tracking.
That's a lot.
It is. So summarize the core of this for us without overwhelming everyone.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, synthesizing this entire comprehensive checklist really comes down to 3 operational concepts: consistency, attentiveness, and partnership.
I like that.
Consistency in their physical and mental routine, attentiveness to their baseline and any emerging patterns of change, and an ongoing communicative partnership with a veterinarian.
It really is that clean when you step back. Manage the calories based on metabolic reality. Check the anatomy that is prone to failure. Use grooming as a diagnostic tool. Fulfill their genetic need to work and solve problems. And always watch for patterns over isolated moments.
Exactly. Whether you are currently puppy-proofing your living room for a new arrival, or you are looking at a gray-muzzled companion resting beside you right now, this framework provides a very clear lens.
For sure.
It empowers you to understand exactly what your dog needs, biologically and emotionally, without the paralyzing stress of information overload.
It's all about intentionality.
There's one final thought I'd like to offer on this topic, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
We have spent this entire deep dive discussing how much our dogs rely on our careful observation and our structured routines to maintain their health. But consider the reciprocal effect.
How so?
Building these grounding daily habits of attentiveness, putting our screens down to truly observe another living creature, maintaining a consistent daily walking schedule, regardless of our own mood, creating a calm, emotionally stable environment that might secretly be the most powerful intervention for our mental health and observation skills as humans.
Oh, wow.
We think we're just maintaining their physiological machine, but they are anchoring our psychological well-being.
That is an incredible reframing. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you walk away with a clearer perspective on the daily habits that actually move the needle.
Glad to share.
Remember, our dogs can't light up a dashboard when something is wrong. They rely entirely on us to read the muddy waters, to understand the mechanics of their bodies, and to pay attention. Keep exploring, keep paying attention to the patterns, and we'll see you next time.